Welcome back to Pompano Park in Pompano Beach, Florida. We've had a lot of favorites that have been successful in tonight's Certified Vacations Breeders' Crown. And in the next race, Gary Seibel, a surefire favorite in Town Pro.
Well, to be precise, Bruce, we've had 5 favorites in the first 5 races pick up victories in the Breeders' Crown. The next race, of course, it's Town Pro. As I mentioned at the top of the show, she is the pacing equivalent to Peace Corps. She has been absolutely superb this year. Last year, she wins tonight's race, and she becomes a millionaires, but she won't get much out of a very modest Doug Brown.
Well, Town Pro is indeed driven by Doug Brown, who is the #1 driver in Canada, and many feel with a little luck he could be the #1 race driver in the world. A native Canadian, much like John Campbell and Mike LaChance, he is quiet and unassuming off the track, but aggressive and daring on it. Doug Brown is a guy who is maybe underrated in this sport, but has brilliant ability. Let's meet him.
Doug Brown was born in the city of Oshawa, Ontario, where the #1 employer is General Motors. But Doug's fascination with horsepower had nothing to do with cars. He loved the horses, and it's a career decision he's never regretted. And can you blame him? Brown has been Canada's Driver and Horseman of the Year for the past 2 seasons. He became the country's first $4 million man last year, and he's ranked 3rd in North America in money won, behind 2 other Canadians, John Campbell and Michel Lachance. Doug Brown has not achieved his success without some sacrifice. Training and driving kept him away from his family. One day he said, "Enough is enough." He gave up training and now enjoys spending more time at his country home with his wife Nancy and their 2 children, Kyle and Crystal.
Oh, you don't want any pumpkin pie, I guess.
I know a while back it just seemed that like that's all there was horses, and I ended up even the mornings I was gone because I was training. Well, at one time I was training up to 20-25 horses, and it just seemed like 24 hours a day it was horses all the time. And got a very good family. We've been very fortunate with health, and the 2 kids have been just fantastic. And it has to come before the horses. I know the horses have put me where I am today, but I can't say that it's secondary, but priorities have to be put in the right spot.
What kind of guy is he?
Very kind. Very quiet. He keeps a lot to himself. He's not one to come home and say, you know, this bothers me or this bothers me. I know with him, with his moods, when something is, but I don't know what it is. He's not one to sit down and emotionally say what's bothering him. It's sort of hit and miss with him. But very, very kind-hearted. He'd do anything for anybody.
The Breeders' Crown, how important is it for you to win?
Very important. Last year when Town Pro won it, it meant a great deal to me, and just as much for the horse. They say every year that it all comes down to the Breeders' Crown, and it kind of looks like that's the way it is there every year. The most important race, it just seems much more important now than the Little Brown Jug or Hambletonian. I really believe that it definitely does come down to the Breeders' Crown. Last year, it was the first Breeders' Crown I won, and it's hard to describe the feeling. It just, it's something like you've always dreamed for, I guess. We've done it once, and hopefully we can do it again this year.
Doug Brown, the driver of Town Pro, who is certainly one of the top 3 candidates for Horse of the Year. And that leads us to the 3-year-old filly pace. The 8th race on tonight's card at Pompano Park. And here's the post parade. #1 is Smiling Rebecca.
She has the least amount of starts in the field, Bruce, with 18 in her career. Last start was her first on-the-board performance of 1990, and Ron Waples won this race with long shot glow softly in '86.
45-year-old Ron Waples is the driver. Waples, a member of Canada's Hall of Fame. Number 2 is Ladies Genius.
She's won 9 of her last 11 starts. Big turnaround. 1 win as a 2-year-old, 13 this year. Bob Bencal trained 2-time Breeders' Crown champ, Fantastic. Part owner Doug Cass owned 88 Wilson winner Casablanca, so the connections are good here.
Driver Mike LaChance is one of 3 drivers to win 5,000 races and $50 million in purses. Number 3 is Instant Rebate.
Record on a 5/8 mile track, 16 starts, 10 wins, 5 seconds, not bad. Most starts in the field, 27, and she's got $388,000 in career earnings.
Driver Bill Fay has won a Breeders' Crown event tonight and won with Leah Almahurst. Number 4, Delinquent Account.
This filly broke a bone as a promising 2-year-old. John Copus knows fillies. He won the Breeders' Crown with Armbro Feather in '89. She's had a full fall campaign with 9 races in a 6-week span.
John Copus is indeed the master of the fillies. He also handled Roses Are Red. Number 5 is Crafty Caper.
Crafty Caper is part owned by Harold Schwartz, breeder of the last race winner, Caesar's Jackpot. Crafty Caper red hot at Garden State this fall, so maybe Mr. Schwartz can make it 2 in a row.
And the driver tonight, Howard Parker, is from a racing family. Both his father and brother are regulars at the Meadowlands. Number 6 in this field of 3-year-old filly pacers is Ruler's Chippy.
Ruler's Chippy knows 5/8 mile track. She's got a summary of 11 wins, 3 seconds, 4 thirds, and 19 starts. Was hot in the Roses Are Red series at Greenwood this summer against older mares.
The pilot, Joe Pavia Jr., a top Pompano driver for many years, took the Meadowlands by storm this summer. Number 7, I gotta like this one, Bruce's Lady.
I bet you would, and so would Bruce Nichols, the trainer here. Another in the strong line of female pacers from trainer Bruce Nichols. This is Namesake, Follow My Star, Central Park West, Nadia Lobel, Miss Easy. There's a bunch of them. This is another one.
John Campbell won this race last year with Cheery Hello and looks for an encore performance. And number 8 completing the field, but with the outside post, the favorite Town Pro.
Well, outside post or not, Bruce, she'll pass $1 million in earnings faster than any filly or mare in history. That's in 30 starts if she wins. Kraken world record holder for her age and sex on 5/8 mile oval. She was super here in a start not too long ago. What can I say? She is the best in this field.
Doug Brown and Town Pro try to duplicate their victory of last year. So there's the complete field for the 3-year-old filly pace. This the 8th race of tonight's card in the Breeders' Crown. We'll be back. Here's the complete field for the 3-year-old filly pace. Right now we are 2 minutes from post or so. Smiling Rebecca 6-1, Lady Genius 5-1, Delinquent Account also being held at 5-1. Town Pro the overwhelming favorite, although she does have the outside post, and she is listed at 3-5. So there is some quality in this field, particularly Instant Rebate and Delinquent Account, also Bruce's Lady, but the class is Town Pro. Gary Seibel has a look at the contenders.
When you're talking about greatness, and you also happen to be on the subject of 3-year-old filly pacers, the name Town Pro is a lead pipe cinch to come up in the conversation. This Iron South Big Towner lass was 12 for 13 last year, 13 for 16 in 1990, and would become a millionaires with a win tonight. In her most recent outing at Pompano Park, Town Pro was flawless in a 153-3 score over a sloppy track. She'll be tested here, though, having drawn the difficult outside post 8 for co-owner driver Doug Brown. The Tyler B. filly, Lady Genius, a recent elimination winner of the Garnsey Memorial at the Red Mile in Lexington in 154-2, could pose a serious threat here. Driver Mike LaChance guided her to victory in this year's Jugette, and he'll be back in the bike tonight for this competitive filly matchup. With 13 wins and 19 trips to the post this year, Lady Genius benefits from drawing the 2-hole and could give anyone in the field a run for their money into the first turn. Then there's Ruler's Chippy, a daughter of Radiant Ruler. She's met with good success north of the border, where she is owned by Canadian Bud Burke. But she has also tasted victory in the Bluegrass, coming from 5th at the top of the stretch to win the Garnsey Memorial in her lifetime best effort of 153-2. Trained by Liz Cannell of Ontario, this speedy filly draws the services of Pompano's leading driver, Joe Pavia Jr., who may look to gun her out from post position number 6.
Good. Excited coming back between them is the rebate photo between her and Ruler's Chippy. It appeared to be
Another leading contender is Delinquent Account. Trained and driven by John Copus, the man who campaigned the top Vistaffer Armbro Feather through a brilliant career, including Breeders' Crown honors last year. Delinquent Account was second best to Town Pro in a recent Pompano Park confrontation, finishing about a length back. The on the road again filly has bagged nearly $100,000 in this year and looks to add to that with a mild upset from the four-post, most likely from off the pace.
Delinquent Account has gotten the 3 lengths up on the field. Delinquent Account wins it for Copus. Home second was...
And give Instant Rebate a shot here, too. The 3-hole could secure a good early spot for her, and she could surprise. 13 wins in 7 seconds and nearly $400,000 in the bank at 90 are credentials enough.
Well, you're now looking at Doug Brown and Town Pro, and just before they went out in the post parade, I talked to Doug about the 8-hole, which of course is a long way from the rail. I asked him if it bothered him, and does he ever remember racing out of that 8-hole before with Town Pro. He said one memory sticks in his mind. That was Town Pro's first lifetime start out of the 8-hole. I asked him how it went. He said we were parked the whole mile. He does not plan on history repeating itself tonight. Bruce?
Well, we talked a lot about Doug Brown. The trainer of this fine filly is Stu Ferlot, who trained Ralph Hanover, the last Triple Crown winner. If Town Pro wins tonight or finishes second, she will become a millionairess.
No question about that, and if any 3-year-old pacing filly deserves to be a millionairess, it certainly is Town Pro. And as far as getting parked from the 8-hole, I suppose it's always a possibility, Bruce, but she has just been so strong of late that I think she'll be able to gun right out there and take command just about as much as she wants to.
Town Pro is down to 2-5. 30-1 an Instant Rebate might be an overlay because Instant Rebate has 10 wins this year on 5/8 mile tracks, and you ever hear the expression horses for courses? Might be true here.
Well, you might be right. It might be true here, but they're going to all have to go some to beat Town Pro. As I mentioned, she's at the top of her game, and it seems like she's at the top of her game all the time. I don't think she's ever been at a low ebb.
Does she need to be in front to win? Does she need to get to the rail early as we look at the purse distribution for this race?
Well, she does not need to be at the rail in front to win, but it's the best spot for her.
It would be nice.
Yes.
So once again, these 3-year-old fillies assemble behind the starting gate. They are all chasing Town Pro down to 1-5 on the tote board. Bruce's Lady was second in the Crown last year. She won 10 of 21 races, but this year she has not been as sound. She's just 2 for 17 for trainer Bruce Nichols, who does wonders with fillies.
The 6-horse Bruce, Ruler's Chippy, certainly does have the speed, kind of lightly regarded by the betting public right now, but she has had a little bit of a problem acclimating to the weather. She's done a lot of racing up in Canada, and Liz Cannell told me that it's taken a while for her to get used to the warmer climate down here.
Lady Genius, of course, is trained by Bob Bencal, the trainer of Camptastic, who is a 2-time Breeders' Crown champion. Big turnaround this year for Lady Genius, 13 of 19 in the money after winning just 1 of 16 races last year.
Another horse that could give Town Pro a run for the money is the 4-horse, as we mentioned in our top contender piece, Delinquent Account. She finished second to Town Pro in a Breeders' Crown Tightener in, well, about the 19th of October, and she could be there as well with a good spot.
And she's back from an injury from a year ago. The track record, Town Pro 153-3. The world record, Town Pro 153-1, set at Greenwood Raceway. The Breeders' Crown record, Pacific 155, set in 1987. So the 3-year-old fillies are ready to go a mile at Pompano's Oval. And Tom Durkin, the voice of the Breeders' Cup, the voice this year of the Breeders' Crown, will call it for us.
2-5 now on Town Pro, who comes into this race with an absolutely gaudy record. 13 victories from 16 starts this year on the board. In those other 3 losses, won 12 of 13 last year, leading from post position 8. Starting gate picking up speed, and they're off. And from the inside, Smiling Rebecca fires out. On the far outside, Willer's Chippy is up close early, and Town Pro was away fourth. Field moving for the first turn. It's Lady Genius on the inside, now a short lead. The outside, Crafty Caper coming up sharply now to take command. And then it's Willer's Chippy, who's kept close and 3 wide now. As they come into the stretch, Smiling Rebecca is racing in 4th position. By the back, Town Pro has come out 5th. And then it's Instant Rebate is farther back in the pack as they have paced the opening quarter at 27-3, passing us down for the first time. Joe Pavia sends Ruler's Chippy up to take the lead. On the inside, Crafty Caper second. And now there goes Town Pro now, who's gearing up on the outside third. Town Pro will be parked around the second turn. Lady Genius is now racing in fourth on the outside. Smiling Rebecca is on the move. And then farther back in the pack, it's Instant Rebate who takes to the outside, followed by Delinquent Account. Bruce's Lady trails the field into the backstretch now. Town Pro has taken command at the half in 55 3/5 seconds. And Town Pro dictating a strong pace, continuing into the wind down the backstretch. And just in behind, down on the inside, it's Ruler's Chippy, who now races in the second spot on the outside. Smiling Rebecca is parked out third. Crafty Caper is fourth for the inside. Instant Rebate is now racing fifth. Then Delinquent Account on the outside. Lady Genius is now buried at the rail. And Bruce's Lady, 3/4 in 1:25 and Town Pro kicks in. Town Pro now turning for home. In front by 3. Ruler's Chippy is giving chase. In second, Town Pro put to the whip as they come down to the final 8. Delinquent Account charging on the outside. Instant Rebate is right there. Town Pro a bit leg weary but trying to hold on. Delinquent Account surging. Not enough to catch Town Pro, who does it again, this time in 1:54 4. Not quite the sensation that some of the other races had produced tonight, but nonetheless, Town Pro, the ultimate in consistency. She does it again in 1:54 4. Bruce?
Thank you very much, Tom Durkin. So Town Pro setting a new Breeders' Crown record, the time 1:54 4. She's been off the board only one time in her entire career, and that's 30 career races.
Well, I think Tom put it just right when he said a gaudy record, because it's incredible. She is an amazing pacing filly, and now, of course, not only is she an amazing pacing filly, but she's a million heiress as well, and now she holds the track record, world record, and of course the Breeders' Crown record. What more can she do?
Well, the question is she good enough to be considered a candidate for Horse of the Year?
Well, I think in a lot of years, yes, Bruce. But of course, you have a horse by the name of Beach Towel who is on course, on target for that honor. Now, of course, if Beach Towel should falter tonight, you never know what can happen. Town Pro is just the picture of consistency, and she can pick up Horse of the Year honors if Beach Towel doesn't do it.
Town Pro, the 3-year-old filly by Big Towner out of the Brett Hanover Mare program. Town Pro victorious in the 3-year-old filly pace from the Certified Vacations Breeders' Crown. Trained by Stu Furlot, who is a former hockey player, bred by Brian Webster and Ray Bednars from Ontario, and owned by the Pro Group stable. By the way, Stu Furlot and Doug Brown are part of that stable. And Town Pro continues to just have a remarkable racing career this year, 17 for 17 in the money. And the last filly to beat her was Choice Yankee at the Meadowlands on August 17th in the Mistletoe Chalet. Here's the official order of finish, with Town Pro finishing first, Delinquent Account, Lady Genius third, Instant Rebate finished fourth, Ruler's Chippy was sixth, and Bruce's Lady finishing eighth.
Well, I'll tell you, Bruce, it was another fine performance by Town Pro, stamping herself as one of the greatest 3-year-old filly pacers, one of the greatest distaff pacers of all time. There's no question about it. She goes over the $1 million mark, and this time she did not do it on the front.
Right now, let's go to Hall of Famer Stan Bergstein.
There's an interesting aspect to how this horse was acquired. Tony Del Monte, one of the owners, was talking to Doug Brown, who had driven Programmed, who is the dam or mother of Town Pro. Brown said to him, one of these days she'll be bred to Big Towner and she'll have a filly and we'll buy her. And Del Monte went and looked at the catalog for the upcoming Harrisburg sale. He quickly called Brown and said she has one by Big Towner coming up in the sale. So Stu Furlot, who had trained Program, the mother, and Doug Brown, who had driven her, and Tony Del Monte got together and went to the sale, and for $60,000 they bought Town Pro. She's one of the greatest of all time, but following her as a 2-year-old is the phenomenal Miss Easy. And we may have two of the greatest pacing fillies and mares in the history of the sport back to back. We'll find out on the end of November on the 30th when Miss Easy races here. Right now, back to John Pavlak in the winner's circle.
Come on in here, Dougie Brown, perhaps a name that is not as well known as Campbell and O'Donnell in this part of the world, but it is now. This is a super filly. Where do you rank her among some of the greats of all time?
I would have to say she'd be right up there with the Fan Hanovers and the likes, and maybe better. Who really knows? You can't really compare.
Great. You had post position number 8, and it looks to me, Dougie, as they left, you sort of let things sort themselves out.
Yeah, it worked out real well. We grabbed the spot off the gate. There was a few of them left out real good, and we were able to grab about the 5-hole, and I removed her at the quarter and just let her take her time getting to the front. And usually when she gets to the front,
she is right on the outside. We see her in the center of our screen there, number 8. And really, you let her do it on her own. She looked to just steady in herself, really.
Yeah, she's just terrific to drive. She'll sit in or she'll sit on the outside or in front. I raced her in front, but she doesn't really have to race there.
Little scramble at the top to get to the quarter in 27-3, but you must feel now by coming out underway that things are going your way.
Yeah, things started to work out real good right off the gate, and when I saw Joe was making the front, I moved her and just took her time getting around them, and then when she cleared, she was very strong.
One thing that is striking is she doesn't take much urging. You don't really communicate that much through the whip. There's no need to.
No, she responds very well to noise, movement of the lines. I got after her once or twice through the stretch, but just to let her know I was still there.
Now, you're parked going into that win, but the second quarter was only 30, well, it looks like 28 seconds, so really she makes the top in good order.
Yeah, she got, with the wind behind her, it was probably like a quarter in 29-1 or 2, so it helped quite a bit.
Now, you're going to go to the 3 quarters in 125-1. Give us an idea what that wind is like. You're racing right into it now down the backstretch.
It's very strong because with her, once you get to the front, you don't try to give her a breather because she gets to sleep and then start to get her started back up again. And she was racing hard into the wind down the back and only went 29 and change, so that's how strong it is.
Now, some of these fillies are trying to mount a challenge, but she is really going oh so easily. She is really only in second gear.
Yeah, she's very impressive. I really never drove a mare like her because she's not really even like a mare. She just digs and digs all the time.
There, 1 reminder, 2 reminders from the whip, and it's 3, and it's all over.
Yep, she was real game tonight. I'm really proud of her.
Dougie Brown, congratulations. She's a millionairess, and who knows, she's going to get some votes for Horse of the Year. Let's go back to Bruce Beck.
Okay, here are the official prices. Town Pro returning 260, 260, 220. Price is okay. Delinquent account 360 and 320. Lady Genius 240. Stan mentioned the words back-to-back. That's what Doug Brown might do. He's got top-notcher ahead.
I'm spending too much time.
Welcome back to Pompano Park on this brilliant night of racing. The Breeders' Crown, the Certified Vacations Breeders' Crown, a glittering night of stars in Pompano. 8 championship races, and coming up next, we will have the horse pace as the action really gets furious for our last 2 live races of the evening. Sandman Hanover, who is one of the favorites in the horse and gelding pace, was bred at the legendary Hanover Shoe Farms in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Hanover Shoe Farms is the leading money-winning breeder in the standardbred racing industry. John Pavlik takes a look at the farm rich in tradition.
South Central Pennsylvania is horse country, and the Hanover Shoe Farm, in existence since 1926, has become the largest standardbred nursery in the world. Much of the credit goes to former champion driver and current Hanover Shoe Farm president, John F. Simpson.
I was nicknamed the Iron Man because I kept going night and day.
My father's, I'm not going to say he's a tough man to work for, but he is.
I guess you could call him a little bit of a perfectionist. I think everything has to be perfect.
He came to Hanover Shoe Farms, and it made it one of the outstanding nurseries in our business.
Selecting stallions and broodmares and running a breeding operation is much harder than training and racing a stable of horses, in my opinion. You're breeding for the market. What will the public buy from you? You'd like to have them in your own stable, but you can't do that. You know that. You've got to sell some of them to pay the bills to raise enough next crop of colts. Frankly speaking, it'll, the business is great and all that, but it will put gray hair in your head, or so to say white, over the years.
Like his stallions, Simpson, president since 1968, hasn't slowed down. Although a racing accident in Delaware, Ohio in 1950 left him with a degenerative eye condition. Today, he is legally blind.
It is tough, being blind. You can't read, and you have people read to you. And I'll tell you, it isn't easy. But you can't give up. You can't say, well, I can't do that because I'm blind. You just have to keep going. It's the way I've tried to attack it and live.
Simpson's drive and dedication has worked in his favor as Hanover continues to attract fans from across the country.
There isn't exactly just one thing that makes Hanover special. It's everything.
One thing about Hanover Shoe Farms that makes it special is the acreage we have. We have 4,000 acres.
Just the tradition of Hanover in itself, you know that they've raised their colts well, and they have quality horses.
We're conditioning these horses, these yearlings, to be what they're bred to be, and that's athletes.
I often tell everybody when I want a world champion, I come to Hanover and buy one.
Hanover is #1. And the only thing I can say about that, it's difficult to manage and keep a big farm going like this because you're at the, well, it's the power of the buyer. And to start a farm today, well, I wouldn't at my age, but if I were younger, I'd have to think a long time before I started building more fences and developing more pasture land and building more stables. The market is down right now. How much longer we can stay as large as we are is anybody's guess. If it doesn't improve, we can't.
But John Simpson keeps it all in perspective.
Hanover Shoe Farms is special to me, and I'm prejudiced. You must understand that. It's because it is the greatest farm, and as long as I live and have anything to do with it, I want to keep it that way.
Sandman Hanover, bred at Hanover Shoe Farms, and certainly one of the candidates to win this race, the 9th race on tonight's card.
Well, of course, he'll team up with Pilgrim's Patriot as 1 and 1A, part of a Lou Gaida entry. Sandman Hanover won the Messenger Stake last year. He's been first or second in his last 9 starts, and he is a $1 million winner.
And there's Top Notcher. I mentioned Doug Brown might have back-to-back winners. Good chance here with Top Notcher.
And another $1 million earner in that field.
9th race is coming up, the Horse and Gelding Pace.
Only one antiperspirant.
Welcome back to South Florida. And here's a look at the Breeders' Crown, tonight's 9th race, the Horse and Gelding Pace. The odds, as you can see, Sandman Hanover and Pilgrim's Patriot are coupled as an entry, owned by LPG Standardbred Associates, being held at 6-1. Dare You 2 at 2-1. Dare You 2 set a Pompano track record 2 starts back. And Top Notcher, the public's choice, at 3-5 from post position number 8. And there's Top Notcher, driven by Doug Brown and trained by Renee Larman. So this is a good group with Mystery Fund and Dare You 2 and Storm Compensation, but which horses are the ones to beat? Let's find out.